about a Shavuos topic. Remember to do, or to have in mind, somebody will do an Erev Tavshilin for you, by the way. For the few times that Israel and in America, whenever Yontif falls out on a Friday, you need an Erev Tavshilin to be able to prepare on Yontif for Shabbos. That was a runner-up topic that I was going to talk about, but more halachic, and most of the guys aren't, setting their own Erev Tavshilin yet. So, you don't say with your mothers or with yeshivas. But anyway, we'll talk about the following topic relating to Shavuos. And the title of it, as you see the title on the top of the sheet, is Of Angels and Men. Of Angels and Men. It's basically a fancy title, 1 question and 4 answers. But you got to make it sound exciting. So you have to, Schefter says, right, hit or mitzvah in Talmud Torah also. Package it, in an exciting and fun-sounding way. So, of angels and men, what's the issue? The question that we have dealt with, and you probably have heard it before. The Gemara Masechah Shabbos on Daf Echesam Abayz, in source number 1. Amr B'Shuv ben Levi. Shalom Moshe Lamara, when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai. Amru Malachei Asher Yislev Nekadosh Baruch Hu. The Malachim say to Hashem, Ribbon Shalom, Mali Yuludi Shabeinu. Why is there a human being here? This is our turf. What's going on here? This is not meant to be. All right, this is angel land. Amar Lahen L'Kabel Torah Ba. Hashem says he's here to get the Torah. Haven't you heard? Maimon Arsina is coming. Amrulafanav. They say, really? As if like the angels were surprised. Chamuda Genuza. The Genuza Lacha Shamiot V'Shivim V'Shiva Doros. A special treasure that was hidden for you 974 generations. Kodim Shenivra Ha'olam. How do you get 974? Good question. Good Mefarshim, not for now. You're going to give it to a human being? Interesting lashon. They don't even say B'nai Yisrael here. They just say to Basar Vadam, meaning mundane, human, terrestrial beings. That's who's you're going to give the Torah to? Ma Enosh, and they quote a pasuk from Tehillim, which obviously wasn't written yet, but the message was Ma Enosh ki tizkerenu, uven adam ki tifkedenu. What is a human? What's so special about him? Hashem Odeinu Moadir Shimcha B'chal Haaretz. Hashem, you are great. Asher Tnohodcha L'Shamayim. Your glory is on the heavens. So, how is it that you're giving the Torah to the human beings? Not fair. Amar Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. Hashem does not answer the question. He says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Hachzer Lam Shuva. You give an answer. You give an answer. You answer the angels. Amar Lo, the next 3 lines are some of those beautiful and illustrative lines in all of the all of Shas, right? What does Hashem say? You answer. Moshe says, I can't. Ribbon Shalom. Misyara and Ishema Yisrafuni behevel shebafiyem. Maybe they're gonna burn me up. Angels speak fire, and I can't answer them. Amar Lo, Hashem says, don't worry. Achos b'kisei kfodi. Hold on to my kisei akavid. Chazor lam shuva, and give them an answer. As if that's base. Hold on, the imagery that we get. Again, we're going to have to talk about what's the message of holding on to the Kisei HaKavod. Is there anything, what's the deeper idea? Hashem does not really have a throne. Right? Kisei HaKavod is one of the 7 items that were created before the world was created. Remember that Gemara? And in Nedarim, for the 7 items, Kisei HaKavod was one of them. Torah was another one. Right? But 974 generations before. So Moshe, give him an answer. We'll skip 2 lines. So Amar Lafanav. So Moshe talks to Hashem and says, Ribono shel olam, Torah shata nosei li maksibbe. The Torah that you're giving me, what's written in it? Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hozeisecha be'eretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of Egypt. Amar lands. He turned to the angels. L'Mitzrayim yaradatem. L'parosh badatem. Did you go through this? Tzias Mitzrayim. Hashem's talking to you? No. Or lamatei lachem. Moshe did not wait for an answer. He went to the next. Shuv maksiv day. You know this Gemara. Lo yelachal hem achirim. The second of the Dibros. Don't have other gods. Goyim atem shuyim shovdim avodah zara. Are you amongst the goyim who worship avodah zara? You have this taiva. Shuv maksiv day. Zachar yom Shabbos lakadsho. Keep Shabbos. Lo matem osim malacha. The 10 Srichim Shvos. Angels. He had a tough week. Busy. Raphael. Raphael had a busy week this week. A lot of people were sick. He needs a rest. Michael. Doesn't apply. Shuv maksiv lo sisa lo signo. All the yisurim. So immediately the angels realize that nothing doing. Hodu lo lakadosh baruch hu. They admit to Hashem. You're right. right? Give it to them. Shneamar, in that same parak of Tehillim, a similar pasuk, not the last phrase. Hashem Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha, Ilu Tznahodcha L'Shamayim Buktiv. Okay, the end of that pasuk is in there, and they become Moshe's best friend. Very famous question. What exactly were the angels thinking? What did Moshe teach them that they didn't know beforehand? They wanted the Torah. Moshe just quoted parts of the Torah to them. So what was Moshe Mechadish to them that they didn't know beforehand? And how are we supposed to understand this Gemara? And again, it's a basic question because Maimon Har Sinai is like the most defining moment in our history. To figure out exactly, what happened at Maimon Har Sinai. That's the question. I was thinking, I didn't see this pointed out anywhere, and again, I have to think about it more, and maybe you could have some suggestions. Shavuos, let's say with the other case. Pesach is called Zman Cheruseinu. Sukkot is called Zman Simchaseinu. Both of those, they're not called the Zman of the event. We don't call Pesach Zman Yitzias Mitzrayim. We just call it Zman Cheruseinu. We call it the result of the event. Zman Cheruseinu. Sukkot, we don't call it Zman Ananei HaKavod Shalanu. We call it Zman Simchaseinu, which is a simcha that we have based on the HaKavod, based on the gathering that we're doing. But both of those, we call the time period about the feeling we're supposed to have. We don't call it about the event. Shavuos, Zman, Matan Toraseinu. We don't talk about what it's supposed to do to us. We just call it Zman of the event. As if the event itself is supposed to connect to us. It's the Zman of Matan Toraseinu. We just label it like that. We don't take it to the next level. Zman Limudenu, Zman Avaseinu, nothing. Just focus on the event. The message seems to be that the event itself has some power. Again, if you look around in the Shavuos books that you have at home, you see anybody else make this out. I didn't do enough research, but I'm sure people talk about it. But it just reflects and emphasizes that it's the event itself that we have to focus on. Okay. So what we're going to do over the next couple of minutes is three ideas. There's a fourth one which I will leave you with, which I'm not going to go into, but really three ideas that the answer to this question really gives us an insight into the whole holiday itself. It helps us realize what we are celebrating and what we're supposed to think about during this holiday. One of the most popular answers to the question, Mikey, thank you for joining us. The question is, what were the angels thinking? They didn't want to give the Torah to they didn't want to give the Torah to Bnei Yisrael. So Moshe disproved them. Of course, it only applies to human beings. So what were they thinking? So we have to explain what they were thinking and then explain what their answer to them was. So as great a Havamina that they wanted it, as well as we explain the angels' taina, it's not going to be good enough. Because Moshe, remember, gave them an answer that they had to accept. So what exactly were they thinking? So a very popular suggestion that's given, that's suggested by many, is that we know, I gave it to you from the Avi Ezri, that's Rav Shach on the Rambam. His commentary came out a number of times. So the fifth time that it came out, I have it there in source number 2. He wrote a Hagdama to each of the times it came out. This is Madura Hey. And in the one that I have, all of the introductions are printed at the front of volume 1. So he has 6 introductions. So they're following idea, which you might have heard before. There are many different levels and understandings of the Torah. You can understand the Torah on many different levels. Right? The Sfarim talk about Pardes, Shat, Remez, Dras, Sod, different levels. The angel said, keep the Torah in heaven because the Kabbalistic ideas and the Pnimius and the secrets of the Torah are just as true here as anywhere. So let us have the Torah. Because the secrets of the Torah, that's what we study. Says Rav Shach, source number 2. Abir b'chol zeh, ki elo haTorah nidreshes l'mashe nigla lanu. V'gam la'nistar lanu. There's nigla and there's nistar. Rabbi Akiva Yadorish Tilim Shalachos. Rabbi Akiva, remember, darshan mountains and mountains of halachos from every little crown on top of the Torah. That's not the pshat. There's so much Torah Shabbat Peh. Al kol goats me osios haTorah val savar shel lamed. Every neck of a lamed teaches us something. Yosios Yud and Hey Barash De Olamos. Right? We say B'ka Hashem Tzur Olamim. B'ka Yud and Hey. Hashem created the world with the Yud and the Hey. And the line that we've spoken about in the past, I gave it to you. The Ramban on the bottom of the page. And all the Torah on a deeper level spells out Shem Hashem. If we put all the letters together, you have it broken up. Bereshis, Bara, Elokim. But if you put all the letters together, somehow it spells out Shem Hashem. Shem Hashem. Skip for a moment to source number 3 on the bottom. Od yesh bi'adenu kabbalah shalemes. Ikala Torah kula shmos shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All Torah Shem Hashem shatevos mischalkos l'shemos binyan echad. The words can be split up differently. This is, by the way, parenthetically, this is one of the answers. Now it says that Moshe read Machlokas Tanoim in Bava Basra. Remember that? Who wrote the last 8 psukim of the Torah? Was it Moshe? Was it Yoshua? Af Tesvav or so? Yudal Tesvav. I think it's Tesvav. So according to the one that said Moshe wrote it, how could he have written it? It says Moshe died. He couldn't write Moshe died. But yeah, was Moshe Eved Hashem. So the Vilna Gaon says it didn't say Moshe died, and he wrote it. He wrote it in the natural Shem Hashem way. So he gave the Torah, but it was written in its pristine state. The rest of the Torah was given broken up. When Moshe wrote the last 8 psukim of the Torah, it was given in the pristine natural state. But we know on a deeper level, the whole Torah spells out Shem Hashem. And therefore, that's what the Malachim wanted. Okay, Bereshis Bar Elokim. We won't read the Torah like that. We'll read it on the more Kabbalistic secret level, the previous of the Torah. So keep it by us. Skip a few lines. Meaning, when the Malachim read the Torah, it didn't have to say, Lo tirtzach lo sinaf, Anoch Hashem Elokecha. Aval Malachim shalu, Lama le'seh Torah li'uladisha, Kibanosh ki tizkerenu. The nikris mikol teva, secret meisim merkava. Secrets. And he quotes from Rav Chaim Volozhin, quoting from the Gra on the Pasuk Alu Zev HaNegev. Not one of the more exciting psukim in the Torah. Go up from the south. Go up from the south. The Gra was shown 22,600 pshatim on those 3 words, Alu Zev HaNegev. We don't know that many pshatim on everything altogether that we've ever heard in our entire lives. The Gra heard that was nigla to him. Those amount of pshatim on Alu Zev HaNegev. As Rav Chaim Volozhin in the Hakdama to the Sefer on the Zohar that the Gra wrote, Sifra D'Tzniusa. So there's so much, that's the Malachim. Malachim said, secrets of the Torah, Shmos of Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what's the answer then? The Malachim get a no. The answer is no. Why is the answer no? So 3 similar but different formulations. Again, each message here is important for the Yom Tov Shavuos. 3 similar but different formulations. Says the Mabit, going to page number 2 now if you're following. Source number 4. Says the Mabit. In Beis Elokim, his Sefer on Emunah and other topics. You know there are Shivim Panim LaTorah. There are 70 faces to Torah. They all go together. You have to have the ability to connect to all the faces of the Torah and all the layers of the Torah. Since the Malachim are mufka, are excluded from at least one layer of Torah, you can't get it. We could be connected to every layer of Torah. Says the Mabit, "Kivan sha'achas min hashivim panim, sha'torah nidreshes bahem, u'binyan taryag mitzvahs." One of the ways that you understand Torah is we call pshat, what we call taryag mitzvahs, and the malachim can't shake a lulav, and they can't blow shofar. So since they don't have that layer of Torah, they can't have the other layer of Torah either. Why? People who have the Torah have to get a complete package. You can't have some and not others. Malachim aren't shaykh to one layer of Torah. Human beings to connect the Torah on all levels. Just one step deeper, the Torah is what connects us to Hashem. Malachim also connect to Hashem through Torah. They're missing one level. And the goal of Torah, whoever gets the Torah needs to be connected to Hashem through every layer of Torah that's available. And that's related to a thought we did 2 sugyas ago, actually. Rashi and the Ramban, if you remember, on V'hayu l'basar echad. Remember that beautiful Ramban? What does it mean, basar echad? The Rashi says, Avlad hanotes haridei shnehem. Baby. That is Adam and Chava, that is man and woman. Become basar echad, the child. It's born, that's one flesh. But what does the Ramban say? No. It means the relationship. Because even animals have offspring. That's not what's being meant here. Be'ein b'zeh tam, says the Ramban. Ki kama be'ein b'vachaya yilu basar echad b'vladosehem. Anachon be'enai ki ha'behema v'achaya ein lem dveikus b'nekevosehem. Behema and chaya, they don't have dveikus with their mates. Male will come to any female, v'yelchu. That's what the pasuk says. No, since the nekeva is etzem yatzama v'upasar mipsaro, the davak ba oizok mipsaro, v'yachbotz v'alios tamanimo. There's a relationship. They yearn for each other. They connect to each other on the social level, on the emotional level, on the psychological level, on the physical level. So many levels a husband and wife connect to. That makes them basar echad. That gives them dveikus. Rabosai, what does the Torah tell us? V'yatem hadveikim Hashem Elokeichem. We have dveikus with Hashem through the Torah. And Hashem wants us to be connected on every level. And that is why the Malachim can't have the Torah. The Malachim say, we want the Pnimius. We want that layer of Torah, so secret. What's Moshe's answer? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, lo sirtzach lo sinach. You can't relate to Hashem on this level, so it's a package deal. We can relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on all the different levels of understanding of Torah, of appreciation of Torah, and that is why we get it. We have a full Kabbalah Torah, not Lachatzayin. That's one formulation, what the Malachim were answered. He said, we want the Pnimius. No. It's a package deal. Similar idea, but not exactly the same, is Rav Shach himself. Shach himself says, it's not just that it's a package deal, and therefore if you're missing one, but you can't be missing the basic one. The pshat of the Torah is not just one of the levels. Pshat is the most basic level, where it starts. You can't get to any other level unless you have pshat, right? We learned, amazing, here in Baba Basra, and we learned the Gemara in Yavamis, Chav Daled Ein HaMikra Yotzei Midei Pshuto. Starts with pshat. Only one exception to the rule. Remember, Abachar Asher Teled. Other than that, pshat. You can't learn Torah, and this is let me just read his words for a second. Shekol zeh ma shenechol b'Torah's chachmas Hashem, u'maisem merkava, zeh rak im yesh ba hanigle lanu shel yitzias Mitzrayim. V'din Shabbos, v'chiyah mitzvah shel shmira v'zechira. Oz yesh gam gam hanistar v'efshel lahavim nimena. That's the first, have the pshat in order to get to the next level. Or I'll say it a little differently. Maybe this is what he means. You can't learn Torah without living Torah. Pshat is living Torah. Torah is not just an exercise. The Torah brings us closer to Hashem. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was telling the Malachim. You want the learning and the secrets, but you can't have that unless you live it. Unless you have the pshat level. Because that's what connects us. The mitzvos connect us. And appreciating the mitzvos connect us to Hashem. It's a beautiful thought. I probably mentioned this in a Wednesday night shir months ago. For Volby, as a sefer mitzvos shkulos. I mentioned this before. I think I have. But it's about the 7 mitzvos that he has that are connected kol Torah kula. Mitzvos shekulos that are shakul. So one of them is tzitzis. So he talks about, Chazal tell us that tzitzis is connected all the mitzvos. Zachartem is called mitzvos Hashem, and there's gematria. What's tzitzis? Is it 600? And then you have 8 strings and 5 knots, 613. Tzitzis remind us of all the mitzvos. He explains, how does tzitzis remind us of all the mitzvos? So he says, source number 7, beautiful. He says, let's read it. Go to Medrash. Mashal le'echad, line 5. Mushlach l'toch hamayim. Somebody falls overboard, over a boat. Hoshet hakabarnit zachevel. They throw a rope to him. Ba'amarlo, tfos chevel zeh. Grab this rope. Yal tanicheyo, don't let go. Shetanicheyo ein l'chachayim. If you let go, you're not going to live. Yafkach amar le'kadosh baruch hu liYisrael. Hashem says, as long as you do mitzvahs, there's that word again, dveikus. Mitzvahs are our life preservers. There are ropes. We can stay connected. Says Revolbi, why does tzitzis remind us? Tzitzis are strings. When we see strings, we're supposed to think about that every mitzvah that we do is a string that we could climb up, that we could connect with. It's the top of the next page. Adam ha'ocheis b'chevel shel taryei mitzvahs. Hashem's the captain. He's throwing us the life preservers. He's throwing us the strings. That's the pshat. That's the basic level. So angels, you want the Torah. You want the pnimius, you want the learning, but if you don't live it, you can't learn it. You can't learn it, but you can't have the special Kabbalah that we have. Number 2. This is all within pshat number 1 of what the angels wanted. The angels wanted the pnimius of the Torah. The answer is A, the mabit. Well, it's a package deal. You can't have one level. You can't have any of them. It's a package. Number 2, pshat of the answer is, this is the most basic level. This isn't just one level. This is where it starts. This is living Torah. This is the pshat. Just a third formulation in this pshat, in this idea. It's from the Bnei Yissaschar. Out of different sources that we don't always get to learn. The Bnei Yissaschar, Dinaver, the Chodesh Sivan, he quotes that this is similar to the what we just said. He says it a little differently. He says the angels wanted ultimate enjoyment. And ultimate enjoyment, spiritual enjoyment, comes from depth in the Torah. Yadua, says the Bnei Yissaschar, Hishtokagus hamalachim ala Torah. The yearning of the angels for the Torah. Lo haisab shukasam shal pashtiyusa. Tirtzach lo tinaf lo tignov. But they didn't have a tshuka for the basic mitzvos because, as we know, mitzvos aren't shaykh to them. Ein davar ze noig b'neihem. Ein b'nimtza b'neihem dvarim mukshamim. Aval heim yadu mita'anug haTorah. Emet pnimiusa. But they knew about the Tainug. They knew about what we learned. Remember the Eglei Tal? Remember Avim and Ahar? That Torah itself has a Hana element. We did that this year. I think we did. Mitzvahs lav lahenos nitnu. Torah doesn't apply to Talmud Torah because part of Talmud Torah is the Hana. The Tainug that we would have behind Torah is greater than any other enjoyment. Sometimes we don't always have it. But it's true. I gave you probably the most famous line the Arach Chaim HaKadosh wrote. They say that when the Rebbe say that when he wrote this line, fire shot out of the quill. And there was like sparks in the room. I don't know what that means, but that's what they say. What is it? It's one little line in Parshas Kisavo. I gave it to you. This is the same idea. The Tainug, learning. This is a refrigerator or a Chaim HaKadosh. Says the Chaim, in the days when you used to put things on the front of the fridge when it was like magnetic. Now you got to put it on the side of the fridge. Okay. Am Yermos b'maymar b'chol hatov. Ein tov ela Torah. Shemahayu b'nei adam margishin b'mitikus v'arevus tov Torah. If we would really appreciate when we learned, if we would appreciate the ultimate depth of the Torah, and we would get ultimate enjoyment as we're supposed to get, we would go crazy and lose our mind. And we would follow it. We wouldn't think about anything else in the world. Only what we just learned, that would be the only thing in the world, because it would be totally consuming. But Hashem has Rahmanis on us. And we don't get to that level so we can function in life. But inherently, we have to realize that this is true. And this is what the Malachim wanted. They wanted that Tainug. So what did Moshe answer? You can't have that Tainug, similar to what we just said, without the actual Maisa HaMitzvos. The ultimate Tainug doesn't just come from the learning. It comes from the mitzvahs themselves. The mitzvahs are the physical covering. And you can't get to the inner tainug without that cover. And that's what the Ramchal writes so beautifully, the ultimate simcha that one has. And again, we have to go through life and realize this. Because when we're younger, we're pulled in a lot of other directions. We don't always have it. Ramchal says in Perek Yutes, that's a crucial perek. So much there. Says the Mesilas Yesharim in Perek Yutes, towards the end of the Sefer. Zosi asimcha amitis, libo shel adam aleis, will be so happy. Al shu zoche lavo lefei Adonai Yisbarach sheikamo. All the simchas, we have to recognize that we get to serve Hashem. We get to go daven. We get to put on tefillin. We get to learn Torah for a few minutes. We have a yontif. We have such meaningful holidays. Even though this holiday for many of us is going to be different. Sitting in one's home, it's going to be hard to stay up, when you're not in shul, you don't have the whole, and if you fall asleep, it's okay. But we have to recognize the meaningful day it is when we celebrate the purpose of our life. No other nation has holidays like that. We celebrate the purpose that we were created. Greater simcha could we have. Meaningful holidays. This is all shot number one. What the Malachim want, the Pnimiyas Torah. They wanted the special behind the learning. And we said, no, they can't have it. They can't have it, A, because the Mabit, you have to have all layers. Number two, Avi Ezra, you have to have at least half the Pshat layer. Number three, Simcha comes out of the Maisa HaMitzvos. It's all similar formulations, but a little different focus. Number two, second shot, what the Malachim wanted. Again, there's so much here. Feel free. Again, there are 3 or 4 famous Gemaras in this year that you have in front of you. Just learn them at the Yantav table. You're at home with your family. Some of these Gemaras. The next Gemara is one of the most challenging Gemaras to understand. Eli, bring this up at your Yantav table. And you'll have some intellectuals there who will find this Gemara somewhat heretical. If you don't delve into it. This is a Gemara that you might be familiar with. It's a little scary Gemara because if you've never seen it, it's going to blow your mind. But I'm sure all of you have been through Shas already in your travels, and B'ez Hashem, you have seen the Gemara. But here it is. It's a Gemara about a detail in Hilchos Saras. Gemara in Bava Metzia Pevav. This is how we're going to get to the second shot. Those are machlokes in Shamayim. Metzia Pevav. You remember this Gemara? Where's Yosef? Yosef Fink. You remember this Gemara? Woo! Whoa! Woo! Poo! Pevav. Poo! Bava Metzia. And remember, BM, base medrash. Woo! Woo! Wow! What a Gemara. Here it is. I said they were arguing in Shamayim about this. In Beheres Kodemis L'Seir Lavan, if the spot comes before the white hair, then it's a sign of Tumah for Saras. In Seir Lavan Kodem L'Beheres Tar. If the white hair comes first, Tar. Safek. What if you're not sure what came first? The spot on the skin or the white hair? What if you're not sure? Look at the words of the Gemara. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer Tahar Kul Mesifti D'Rakia Amri Tameh. Hashem says Tar and the Malachim said Tameh. It was a machlokas between the Malachim and Hashem. How can you say that? How could the Gemara write those words? You can't argue on God. This is not like a machlokas Tanaim. This isn't even arguing on a Tana. Moshe Rabbeinu, this is Hashem himself. What does this mean? Let's continue. So Hashem says Tar, they say Tameh. Amri man nochach, they say in Shemaim, okay, who's going to be Machriya? Who's going to decide? The answer isn't God. The answer is Rabbi Bar Nachmani. He's the expert in Hilchos Saras. Let's get Rabbi Bar Nachmani. So I think you have to add in a little bit to this story. They waited till it was time for him to die. They didn't get him that day before it was time to die. They waited for the time remember in Shemayim there's no time. We're outside of time. So not like Kadosh Baruch Hu. Anyway, so the Malach HaMaves though couldn't get to him. It was one of those. He didn't stop learning. Two people in Gemara. Finally, there was a wind. He made a wind, and he died. And as he died, he said, Tahar, Tahar. Meaning, like a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the Baskol said, Ashrecha Rabbi Bar Nachmani, Tekuvcha Torah b'yasa nishpascha b'tar. That's the Gemara. So Hashem said Tar. The angels say Tameh. Rabbi Bar Nachmani said Tar. Look in the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchos Tumah Saras Paskins Tameh. Yes, the Mishnah says this is the only time that we have a record that the Rambam Paskins against God. It's pretty strong. How do you Paskin against Hashem? Now, what's going on here? You can't even say these words. So the Kesef Mishnah says, oh, maybe because when Rabbi Nachmani said Tar, he was kind of already half dead. So it was Lo Bashamayim he. So it wasn't really, he was already Bashamayim. Again, look at that Kesef Mishnah in 13. What is going on here? And again, I'm not going to read it inside because we don't have full time. The next Gemara about Tana Shalach Noah. You remember Yeshua, Rabbi Lazar, and Machlokas. Rabbi Lazar says, if I'm right, the walls of the base medrash and the tree will prove that I'm right, and the water will flow upstream. And they finally ignored it. Finally, Lo Bashamayim, don't bring me rayas. So again, the same kind of question. If a miracle happens, doesn't that show that that's what Hashem wants? How could you paskin against God? What does it mean, Lo Bashamayim? What's the answer to these questions? The answer is, it's not paskening against Hashem. Rav Asher Weiss says this in the Hagdama, the third volume of his Shuvas. Hashem gave the power to the rabbis to interpret the Torah, to make decisions, and figure out what the halacha is. He gave that power. There are many different levels and aspects of every Torah topic. You can look at it as Tam, you can look at it as Tar. That's in theory. In terms of Psak halacha, who determines? Hashem gave the rabbis the power to paskin. So it's not that Hashem says Tar and the rabbis say Tameh. Hashem says Tar in Shamayim. When the rabbis say Tameh, Hashem says Tameh also. Once the rabbis say it. And that's why it's Lo Bashamayim. Because Hashem gave the power to the Rabbanan to create their own MS. I'll take the question in a second. They create their own MS. And that's why there's a beautiful medrash. I gave it to you in 17. That when Hashem wanted to create the world, the angels were having a fight, if it's a good idea or a bad idea. Some angels say, create man because he does chesed. Another one said, don't create man, he's full of lies. Look at the medrash. Print out these sources if you can before Yantif. And you can look at all these things inside. And the pasuk says, the medrash says, Hashem says, okay, let emes sprout forth from the ground. Era emes me aretz tismach. meaning I'll agree to that MS. That's an MS that I'm subjugating myself to, so to speak. Aviyachal, Hashem says. So Hashem gives the power to the Rabbanan, and then he is maskim to what they say. Says the Beis Halevi. Yaakov, I'll get to the question in a second. That's what the Malachim were jealous of. We want the power to darshan. We want the power to interpret. We want the power to take part in the creative process. It's not fair that we just get to learn and we don't get to create like the rabbis do. We want that power. We want that creative process. That's what they were jealous of. An unbelievable thought. Beis Halevi says that's what they wanted. Torah Shebal Peh. They wanted Torah Shebal Peh, the midos. They wanted to do Kal V'chomer and Gzeir Shava, like we're talking about in Shir. Torah Nidnal Yisrael Sheyu Haim Darshim Osa. Kvi Shehem Askimim Al Pi Klalim Kenu B'Emes. Whatever they decide, that'll be the MS. Beis Halevi does not mention what Moshe Rabbeinu's answer to them was. But Yaakov, you had a question first. Yeah.
Two things. One, could this be why I forgot the opinion, but at the beginning of Sanhedrin says Shara is a mitzvah?
Yeah, that is a question about how to understand Shara. Shara might be like another option for the Dayanim themselves. So here, one Shita says Shara is a mitzvah, one says it's an Aveira. It's two extremes.
Oh, so what about the Parahalim Shaldavar and Hurius? Why is that an Avera if the Rabbanan and Sanhedrin were able to make the decisions?
I'm saying because that's a detail. That's a decision that they realize that we don't believe in rabbinic infallibility, right? They make mistakes, and what if they realize that there was a mistake, then they could change it. This is how they interpret, and nobody up until that point. That's the psak. That'll be part of actually tonight's shir about David HaMelech's Chataim and rabbinic infallibility. If you want to get ready for tonight's shir, you can look up on Wikipedia, papal infallibility. I was reading up on it a little bit. Pope can't do an Aveira. That's part of what they believe in. But you don't have to do that. It's okay. But anyway, but this is what the Malachim wanted. So what was Moshe's answer to them? Beis Halevi doesn't go into this part of it. So what was Moshe's answer? What was Moshe's answer? There's more sources here. But I think maybe one could answer the following idea. And if you don't remember anything from the Shir, you'll remember the next 2 minutes. There's a question that was asked by the Kedushas Levi and the Mabit, both of them. Why often in Shas you have Teku? And Teku, the Pashas just means let it stand. We don't have an answer. We all know that, learned at some point in our lives, Teku is also a Rashi Tevis. Tishbi Ataris Kushis Vabayas. Yonavi is going to answer all of our questions. Ask the Kedushas Levi, ask the Mabit, why is it Teku and not? Somebody finish the question. Anybody hear this before?
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Moshe Rabbeinu, Meku. Why Eliyahu Navi? Moshe is our greatest Rebbe. Why don't we say Meku? When Mashiach comes, Moshe will answer all of our questions. Why is it Dafke Eliyahu Navi? Or Mashiach will answer the questions. Why do we say Teku and not Meku? So if you look in I gave you from the Eim Habanim Smecha, which is the great Rav Taichtel.
What's the tough? What does it stand for? What does Teku stand for?
Tishbi, Eliyahu Tishbi.
Tishbi, yeah.
Narates, he'll answer. Kushios, questions. Va'abayos, and doubts. Tishbi, Atarates, Kushios, Va'abayos. So why not Meku? Say both of these great Achronim. Say both of these great Achronim. You could only give a psak halacha if you're involved in the world. If you know what's going on. Avram Avinu can't paskin about microwaves. Akiva Eger can't paskin about internet deals on Shabbos. He uses question. What exactly, how it works. You can only ask a psak halacha question from a rabbi who's involved, who's living, who knows what's going on. If somebody's in an ivory tower and has never stepped outside and doesn't know about the world, they can't answer a question. To be alive and involved. Moshe Rabbeinu, as great as he was, he died. Moshe is not alive today. Eliyahu Hanavi never died. He comes to every bris, every seder, and once in a while he'll dress up in the physical. And there'll be some meetings with him by some people. He can answer the questions because he's involved in the world. Rav Teichtel used this to say that in 1942, when he was writing this, all the rabbis who were very anti people going to the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael from years before, you don't have to listen to them because they don't see the reality right now of Jews being slaughtered everywhere, and they need a place, they need a homeland. That was the context of how he brought this in Imabanim Smecha. If to ask the rabbis of today, ask the rabbis who are involved today, what exactly is the answer? That's the pshat of Kedushas Levi, and the Mavit why it's Meku. It's not Meku, but it is Teku. So maybe that's the answer that Moshe Rabbeinu gave the Malachim. The Malachim wanted the koach of drasha, of psak, of deciding. The answer is, but you don't live Torah. If you're not living the Torah, if you're not involved in the world, nothing to talk about. You can't darshan. You can't decide. You give midos. It's only for people who live the Torah. Eliyahu versus Moshe, that's the people versus the angels. That's the second idea. So again, the angels wanted the premius of the Torah, and we spoke about that. The angels wanted the koach hadrasha, and we spoke about that. Third and final idea, what the angels wanted. The Gemara says in Maseches Chulin, on the Tzadi Aleph, source number 20. The angels, it says by Yaakov Avinu in Vayetze that Hashem was on top of the ladder. Hashem was on top of the ladder. The Gemara says because angels were going up and down and they wanted to hurt Yaakov Avinu. Hashem had to protect him. It doesn't say how and why the angels wanted to hurt Yaakov. Why they want to hurt him? Hashem nitzav alav. Hashem was protecting him. Why they want to hurt him? So Rav Asher Weiss in Parshas Vayetze quotes one of the Rebbes, Rav Shimshon Me'Astropolia, one of the sharp Rabbanim. He says, if you look at the beginning of Vayetze, it's an amazing little one line. Yaakov Avinu says, right? Avram Myers could correct the pasuk that I'm not going to quote properly, right? That Achein yesh Elokim b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. Achein yesh Elokim b'makom hazeh v'anochi. Achein and anochi are only different by one letter. Achein, wow, is yesh Elokim when he wakes up. V'anochi lo yadati, I didn't know. So Rav Shimshon says Achein stands for, what are the four things on the Kisei HaKavod? Achein, Aryeh, Kruv, Nesher. Aryeh, Kruv, Nesher. Achein. Yaakov Avinu says, Achein, wow, this is a special place. It goes to the Kisei HaKavod. Va'anochi, what's the Yud? Yaakov. Yaakov's face is on the Kisei HaKavod. I didn't know about me. Anochi lo yadati. I thought the Kisei HaKavod, Achein, but Anochi. What does that mean? Yaakov Avinu says, Rasha Weiss explains, does it mean that Yaakov was on the Kisei HaKavod? Yaakov is our father, Bnei Yisrael, Bnei Yaakov. We have the ability to achieve perfection. Be right next to the Kisei HaKavod. Yaakov achieved perfection. Medrash says there were four people that were called twice by Hashem. Yaakov, Avram, Moshe, the other one? Anybody Tanakh buffs? Avram, Yaakov, Moshe, Shmuel. Those four. I gave you the medrash that puts them together. What does that mean? Yaakov. Yaakov down here was exactly like Yaakov up there. He achieved his potential. Avram down here, Avram up there. That's what the angels were jealous of. What the angels say, we are perfect. Isn't that the goal of life? We're perfect beings. Give us the Torah. Isn't that what it's all about? And Moshe answers, no, the goal is not to be born, created perfect. It's to achieve perfection. Be holy people. That's the goal of our lives. Not the end, but the process. Perfecting ourselves, not perfection. Perfecting ourselves is the goal. Not being perfect. So the angels were jealous of Yaakov for that. Because they wanted that ability to achieve. About human beings rising up and meeting the challenges. And that's the goal of our life. And that's the conversation between Moshe and the angels. So we've seen various approaches the angels claim. Number one, they wanted Pnimius. Number two, they wanted the Koach Darshan. Three, they wanted to achieve perfection. They were born perfect. They wanted the Torah. They were perfect. We realize that we celebrate today Moshe's answer. We celebrate that we are who we are. And Hashem loves us exactly for that reason. The Gemara tells us in Psachim that every holiday there's a machlokas to know how you have to celebrate. Chatzi Lashem, Chatzi Lachem. Kulo Lashem, Kulo Lachem. Do you allowed to learn and fast all day or not? The Gemara says that on Shavuos, everybody agrees you have to have a Suda. Not allowed to fast all day and learn all day. But it's the day the Torah was given. It's very surprising. Right? The day the Torah was given, so you should have to learn all day. No. What does Rashi say? There in Psachim Tzamaches, to show that we love it. Human beings are happy about something. They make a party. They make a masiba. At a deeper level, we eat because we're showing that we're human. We're not angels. This isn't Yom Kippur. We celebrate Moshe's answer today on Shavuos. We celebrate that we take part in the creative process. We do mitzvahs and get the tainug. We achieve perfection, but we're not born perfect. Those are all things that we celebrate. And that's why it says a special day, and that's all about Zman Matan Torah Seinu. You don't have to call it anything else. It's the Zman of that event, because that event defines who we are every day of our lives. We have to just appreciate it and put it into practice. Bezrat Hashem, we shall all be zochet to a great Yantif, true Kabbalah Satorah, and for those who are in Eretz Yisrael, a great Shabbos as well. Well, in Choslar is also a great Shabbos, but it's not going to be Yantif here anymore. And next week we'll have to have 2 varts on every parsha, because there's going to be a little, break for a couple of months for us. Okay, we'll stop here. Again, 10 o'clock tonight. Hashem Sichas Chaim about the Chet of David HaMelech.